The old house on Maple Street had been empty for nearly 10 years before the Carter family moved in. It stood at the end of a quiet neighborhood in a small American town, surrounded by tall oak trees and a rusted iron fence. Most people in the area avoided it. The peeling paint, cracked windows, and overgrown yard gave it a strange, uncomfortable feeling. But for Michael Carter and his family, it was simply a cheap house they could finally afford. Michael, his wife Sarah, and their 12-year-old son Ethan moved in during early autumn. At first, everything seemed normal. The house was old but spacious. It had wooden floors, large windows, and a staircase that creaked slightly with every step. They spent the first few days cleaning dust, fixing broken cabinets, and arranging furniture. The first strange thing happened on the third night. Ethan woke up around midnight after hearing footsteps above his room. His bedroom was on the first floor, directly under the attic. At first, he thought it was his father walking around, but the steps sounded slow and uneven, almost like someone dragging their feet. He sat up and listened carefully. Step, drag, step, drag. Ethan walked into the hallway and looked toward his parents' room. The door was slightly open, and he could hear both of them sleeping. The footsteps above him suddenly stopped. The next morning, Ethan told his parents what he heard. Michael laughed and said it was probably the house settling, or maybe a squirrel in the attic. Sarah agreed, though she seemed slightly uneasy. For a few days, nothing unusual happened. Then one night, Sarah heard something strange while washing dishes in the kitchen. The back door slowly creaked open behind her. She turned around quickly. The door was wide open, letting in a cold breeze from outside. Sarah was sure she had locked it earlier. She stepped outside and looked around the yard, but there was no one there. Just the quiet sound of wind moving through the trees. Michael checked the locks and shrugged. He said old houses do that. But the strange things kept happening. Cabinet doors were sometimes open when no one remembered opening them. Lights flickered in the hallway late at night. Once, Ethan heard someone walking up and down the stairs, even though his parents were already asleep. A week later, Ethan experienced something that truly frightened him. He woke up around 2:30 in the morning after hearing the familiar dragging footsteps again. This time, they weren't in the attic. They were on the stairs. Step, drag. Step, drag. Ethan slowly opened his bedroom door and looked toward the staircase. The hallway light was dim, casting long shadows along the walls. Halfway down the stairs stood a figure. It looked like a person, tall and thin, wearing something dark. Ethan couldn't see its face clearly. It just stood there, motionless. For a few seconds, Ethan couldn't move. Then he blinked. The figure was gone. Terrified, Ethan ran into his parents' room and woke them up. Michael grabbed a flashlight and checked the entire house. Every room, every closet, even the attic. Nothing. There was no sign anyone had been inside. After that night, Sarah began asking neighbors about the house. Most people avoided the topic at first, but an elderly woman who lived 2 houses away finally told her something disturbing. Years ago, a man named Robert Hale had lived in that house with his wife. According to local reports, Robert had become increasingly violent and unstable. One night, neighbors heard screaming coming from the house. Police arrived too late. Robert's wife had been murdered inside the home, and Robert himself disappeared before officers could find him. Some believed he fled the state. Others thought he might have killed himself somewhere nearby. The case was never fully solved. Sarah returned home shaken. She told Michael everything that evening. He tried to remain logical, saying the story was probably exaggerated over time. But that same night, something happened that neither of them could explain. Around 3 in the morning, both Michael and Sarah woke up at the exact same time. They heard footsteps. Step, drag. Step, drag. The sound moved slowly across the upstairs hallway. Michael quietly grabbed a baseball bat and opened the bedroom door. The hallway was empty, but the footsteps continued, this time coming from the attic. Then they heard something else, a slow scratching sound above them, like someone dragging their fingernails across the wooden floor. Sarah whispered, "Did you hear that?" Michael nodded. He climbed the attic stairs carefully and pushed the door open. The attic was dark except for the beam of his flashlight. Old boxes and broken furniture were scattered everywhere. Then he noticed something strange on the floor. Deep scratch marks, long, uneven lines carved into the wood, stretching across the center of the attic like someone had repeatedly dragged something heavy back and forth. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed behind him. The attic door slammed shut. He rushed to open it, but it wouldn't move for several seconds, as if someone on the other side was holding it closed. When it finally opened, the hallway outside was empty. The Carter family moved out 2 weeks later. Years later, new owners reported hearing footsteps in the attic late at night. Slow footsteps. Step, drag. Step, drag.